Aretha Franklin is a musical legend like no other. Known for her powerful voice, emotional performances, and unforgettable hits, she took the music world by storm in the 1960s. With her soulful renditions, she earned widespread praise and solidified her place in music history. Her stage presence was something special, a perfect mix of passion and authenticity that left a lasting impression on audiences. But here's the twist. Despite her incredible career, her son has some less than flattering things to say about her. Curious? Let's find out in today's video. Before we hear her son's perspective, let's take a look at who Aretha truly was. Aretha Louise Franklin was born on March 25, 1942, in Memphis, Tennessee, to Barbara and Clarence LaVaughn Franklin, also known as C.L. Franklin. Her father was a famous Baptist minister, while her mother was a talented pianist and singer. When Aretha was just 2, the family moved to Buffalo, New York. By the time she turned 5, they settled in Detroit, Michigan, where her father became the pastor of the New Bethel Baptist Church. However, their family life wasn't exactly perfect. C.L. Franklin had a reputation for infidelity, and things started to fall apart in their marriage. According to his biography, Singing in a Strange Land, he even had a relationship with a teenager from his church. Meanwhile, Aretha's mother, Barbara, had her own affair and became pregnant with another man's child, Aretha's half-brother, Vaughn. The tension in their marriage reached its breaking point in 1948 when Aretha was just 6 years old. Barbara moved to Buffalo, taking Vaughn with her, and left C.L. behind with their children. The impact on the family was profound. Aretha's sister Irma later talked about how devastating it was for them all, especially since their father had a violent temper. They were also aware of his reputation as a ladies' man, something they witnessed firsthand when women at church would throw themselves at him. Aretha herself recalled how they could see women pursuing him, especially when he was single. She even remembered seeing women sitting in the front row with their skirts a little too high, clearly showing interest in their father. The separation hit Aretha hard. She had been very close to her mother, and when Barbara left, it broke her heart. Aretha's sister Carolyn said she became incredibly shy and withdrawn after that, a very different person than she had been before. Carolyn also revealed that after their mother left, Aretha would cry for days on end. Things got even worse when Aretha was just 10 years old. Her mother suddenly passed away from a heart attack. In her book, From These Roots, Aretha described the overwhelming pain of losing her mother, saying she couldn't even put it into words. She remembered sitting in tears for a long time after her mother's funeral. In the difficult days that followed, several women, including Aretha's grandmother Rachel and gospel singer Mahalia Jackson, stepped in to help care for the Franklin children. Aretha continued her education in Detroit's public schools, but she dropped out in her second year at Northern High School. Despite the tough times, Aretha's dad, C.L. Franklin, pushed her to sing from an early age. He would even stand her on a chair so the congregation could see her as she sang in church. By the time she was 10, Aretha was already dreaming of a career in gospel music. As a teenager, she joined the junior choir that traveled with her father for his speaking engagements. During one of these trips to California, she met Sam Cooke, the lead singer of the Soul Stirrers. Seeing how Sam successfully transitioned from gospel to pop music made a huge impact on Aretha and set the stage for her future in the music industry. Before we dive into the shocking part about Aretha having a child with her father, let's take a step back and get to know the man who was her dad, Clarence LaVaughn Franklin, better known as C.L. Franklin. Born Clarence LaVaughn Walker in Mississippi, he had a tough start in life. His parents, Willie and Rachel Walker, were sharecroppers, and C.L. often talked about how the only thing his father ever taught him was how to salute. His father left the family when C.L. was just 4, and his mother remarried Henry Franklin, whose surname the family then adopted. Despite these early challenges, C.L. found his calling young. At just 16, he became a preacher and started working in the black itinerant preaching circuit. His big break came when he became pastor of the New Salem Baptist Church in Memphis, Tennessee. In 1944, he moved to the Friendship Baptist Church in Buffalo, New York, before settling in Detroit in 1946 to lead the New Bethel Baptist Church. It was there that his fame really took off in the late 1940s and 1950s. Known as the man with the $1 million voice, C.L.'s sermons were in high demand across the country. He earned impressive fees up to $4,000 per engagement, which was a massive amount back then. His sermons were recorded, and some were even broadcast on the radio. His most famous sermons, like "The Eagle Stirreth Her Nest" and "Dry Bones in the Valley," earned national recognition, with "The Eagle Stirreth Her Nest" even being added to the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry in 2011. Beyond his preaching skills, CL was also famous for his singing voice and his mastery of whooping, a musical preaching style in Black Baptist churches. But, like many influential figures, he wasn't without controversy. For instance, preacher William Branham attempted to steal CL's sermon, "The Eagle Stirreth Her Nest," and present it to white audiences as his own. This was just one example of the power struggle that followed CL's rise to fame. C.L. Franklin's personal life was far from perfect. His church was known for hosting wild gatherings so outrageous that even the famously uninhibited Ray Charles was shocked by the crowd. Charles once said the church crowd was even wilder than he was, quite a statement given his own adventurous lifestyle at the time. R&B and gospel singer Billy Preston backed this up, saying that within the church, anything went, and a lot of the music was created by gay men, even though they were referred to as sissies outside of the church community. When it came to relationships, C.L. Franklin's life was just as controversial. He married his first wife, Allen Gaines, in 1934 when he was only 18, but the marriage ended by early 1936, though no one knows exactly how. A few months later, he married gospel singer Barbara Sugar in 1936, and together they had 4 children. However, C.L. also fathered a daughter, Carol Ellen Kelly, with Mildred Jennings, a 12-year-old member of his congregation in Memphis. This dark secret remained hidden for years. Barbara had a son, Val, from a previous relationship, and C.L. adopted him after they married. Val didn't find out C.L. wasn't his biological father until 1951, when C.L. and Barbara separated. The couple never officially divorced, and Barbara passed away from a heart attack in 1952 at just 34 years old. Shockingly, C.L. didn't attend her funeral. Despite his personal failings, C.L. Franklin was still involved in the civil rights movement, fighting against discrimination in Detroit. He was a close friend of Martin Luther King Jr. and even helped lead Dr. King's Freedom March down Woodward Avenue in Detroit in 1963. But C.L.'s life took a tragic turn on June 10, 1979, when he was shot twice during an attempted robbery at his home. He fell into a coma and remained in that state for the next 5 years. His children moved him back to his house 6 months after the shooting, where he received round-the-clock care until mid-1984. Sadly, C.L. Franklin passed away on July 27, 1984, at the age of 69, in Detroit's New Light Nursing Home. Adding to the drama, rumors about Aretha Franklin began to swirl around her own pregnancy as a teenager. In Detroit, there was speculation that her father, C.L., might have been the one who fathered her child. The environment of wild church gatherings and the adult scene C.L. fostered, along with Aretha's deep insecurities after her mother Barbara left, likely played a role in Aretha's own struggles with relationships and intimacy throughout her life. The rumors about Aretha and her father have been a topic of gossip for decades, fueling speculation about a dark chapter in their family history. At the heart of the controversy surrounding Aretha Franklin's early life is the paternity of her firstborn son, Clarence, who was born when she was just 12 years old. The fact that Aretha named her son after her father, the famous preacher C.L. Franklin, only fueled rumors that he might have been the child's father. Aretha herself never publicly confirmed who Clarence's father was, which left the door wide open for speculation and gossip. However, Aretha's brother and manager, Cecil Franklin, cleared some things up in an interview with Aretha's biographer, David Ritz. According to Cecil, the father was simply a schoolmate of Aretha's, someone she knew but didn't have much interest in. He didn't think the young man was particularly interested in Aretha either. In her memoir, From These Roots, Aretha downplayed the pregnancy, describing it as uneventful. Cecil backed up this view, saying their father wasn't especially furious about it. In fact, C.L. Franklin seemed to understand that these things happen, and he took the opportunity to sit down with his children and warn them about the consequences of sex. A few years later, when Aretha was just 15, she found herself pregnant again. This time, she revealed in one of her handwritten wills discovered after her death in 2019 that the father was a man named Edward Jordan. On August 31st, 1957, Aretha gave birth to her second son, Edward Darren Franklin, named after his father. While Aretha's memoir suggested that C.L. Franklin was equally understanding about this second pregnancy, Cecil painted a different picture. He told David Ritz that their father was far from happy about it and made his displeasure clear. Throughout her career, Aretha remained tight-lipped about her early pregnancies, avoiding the subject in interviews. Instead, she leaned on the support of her grandmother Rachel and sister Irma to help raise her children while she pursued her music career. Despite the challenges of balancing motherhood with her professional aspirations, Aretha made sure to visit her children regularly. Aretha's romantic life wasn't any less complicated. She had 2 marriages, both of which ended in divorce. Her first husband was Ted White, whom she married in 1961 when she was just 18. Interestingly, Aretha had met Ted at a party at her house back in 1954, long before they tied the knot. Unfortunately, their marriage was far from perfect. Aretha's relationship with White was marred by domestic violence, with Cecil describing White as a violent man whose behavior only worsened over time. Even when Aretha sang her iconic song Respect, it seemed to have little effect on White's actions. He continued to physically abuse Aretha, showing no concern for the witnesses who saw his outbursts. As Aretha's unhappiness in her marriage grew, the situation became even more difficult. Aretha Franklin allegedly turned to alcohol to cope with the pain in her life. This came as a shock to her agent Ruth Bowen, who noticed that Aretha had developed a habit of drinking before performances. Bowen observed that this didn't help Aretha's singing at all. In fact, it often made things worse. But Aretha remained in denial, refusing to admit she had a drinking problem despite the many falls, ticket cancellations, and lackluster performances caused by her intoxication. Even when under the influence, Aretha's incredible talent often shielded her from harsh criticism. Her voice still outshone most others, making it hard for people to notice when something was off. Unlike other public figures who found comfort in opening up about their struggles, Aretha kept her battle with alcohol a private one, never acknowledging it publicly. She didn't seek sympathy or support, choosing instead to keep her personal demons out of the spotlight. After years of enduring the pain of her tumultuous marriage to Ted White, Aretha separated from him in 1968 and finalized their divorce in 1969. This marked a turning point in her life as she broke free from the cycle of abuse and began reclaiming her independence. In 1978, she married actor Glenn Turman at her father's church. This marriage brought new responsibilities, as Aretha became a stepmother to Turman's 3 children. However, their marriage didn't last, and by 1982, after Aretha returned to Michigan from California, they separated, eventually divorcing in 1984. Aretha's family played an important role in her life and career. Her sisters Irma and Carolyn were also talented musicians who sang background vocals on many of Aretha's songs. Their musical collaborations reflected the strong bond they shared as a family with a passion for music. After her divorce from Ted White, Aretha's brother Cecil became her manager, a role he held until his death from lung cancer on December 26, 1989. Sadly, Aretha also lost her sister Carolyn to breast cancer in 1988 and her eldest sister Irma to throat cancer in 2002. These losses were undoubtedly a heavy blow to Aretha as she dealt with the grief of losing her loved ones. Aretha Franklin's family history became even more complicated with the revelation that her half-sister, Carol Ellen Kelly, was the daughter of Aretha's father, C.L. Franklin, and a 12-year-old member of his congregation named Mildred Jennings. This revelation added yet another layer to the already complex dynamics within Aretha's family. Despite the difficulties and challenges she faced as a result of her father's actions, Aretha remained a figure of strength, finding comfort in her relationships with friends and her professional network. Her friendships not only provided emotional support, but also helped her weather some of the most difficult times in her life, allowing her to continue pursuing her music and her personal goals. One of the most significant figures in Aretha Franklin's personal life was Willie Wilkerson, a Vietnam War veteran and Detroit firefighter. Wilkerson became a close friend and confidant to Aretha, offering her not only professional support, but also care during moments of illness. His unwavering support demonstrated the depth of their bond. In 2012, Aretha made headlines when she announced plans to marry him, marking a new chapter in her personal life. However, the engagement was called off not long after, and the reasons for the breakup were never publicly disclosed. Despite this, their friendship remained strong, and he continued to play a role in her life during her final years. Aretha's relationships with other influential figures in the music industry were also essential to her well-being and career. She forged close connections with artists like Dionne Warwick, Mavis Staples, and Cissy Houston, who often sang background vocals for Aretha. Houston, in particular, played a significant role in Aretha's music, lending her vocal talents to Aretha's hit song Ain't No Way, showcasing the collaborative and empowering energy that existed among these talented women. Aretha's relationship with Cissy Houston went beyond professional ties, extending to Houston's daughter, the legendary Whitney Houston. Aretha first met Whitney in the early 1970s and became her honorary aunt, a role that Aretha cherished deeply. Whitney affectionately referred to Aretha as Aunt Ree, underscoring the special bond they shared. Tragically, when Whitney passed away in 2012, Aretha was devastated. She had to cancel her performance at Whitney's memorial service due to a sudden leg spasm, but the cancellation was a reminder of the deep emotional connection that had formed between the two singers. Aretha's heartfelt grief and her inability to participate in the memorial service further highlighted the profound impact Whitney had on her life. These relationships, both personal and professional, were vital to Aretha's emotional resilience throughout her career. They helped her navigate the highs and lows of her life and provided her with a sense of family and community, despite the complexities within her own biological family. Through her friendships with those like Wilkerson, Houston, and other fellow artists, Aretha found a network of love and support that stood by her, allowing her to continue making music and leaving a lasting legacy. In later years of her life, Aretha continued to shine despite the hardships she faced in both her personal and professional life. The performance of My Country, 'Tis of Thee that she gave at Barack Obama's presidential inauguration in January 2009 brought her to the forefront of international media attention. Almost immediately, she became a phenomenon because of her forceful performance and her iconic church bonnet. In acknowledgement of her significant contributions to the fields of music and the arts, Yale University bestowed upon her an honorary degree from the institution in the year 2010. She once again astonished listeners with a breathtaking performance of You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman at the Kennedy Center Honors in December of 2015. The performance was a tribute to Carole King, who was a co-writer on the song. However, throughout her whole life, Aretha struggled with profound insecurity and low self-esteem, despite the fact that she had achieved a great deal of accomplishment. Jealousy toward other female singers, such as Roberta Flack, Barbra Streisand, Gladys Knight, Dionne Warwick, Diana Ross, and Natalie Cole, was frequently the result of these sentiments of inadequacy. As a singer, a woman, and a mother, Aretha frequently had the feeling that she was not good enough, according to her sister Carolyn, who disclosed this information. Carolyn described Aretha as having deep insecurity that both impacted her professional life and the relationships she had with her friends and family. During the year 1989, Aretha made a remark regarding Whitney Houston, stating that she lacked my wisdom and maturity as a recording artist. This statement was made after Aretha had performed a duet with Whitney Houston on the song It Isn't, It Wasn't, It Ain't Ever Gonna Be. Aretha's relationships with her contemporaries were often characterized by a complex combination of admiration and rivalry, and this comment represented that complex mix. The fact that Aretha Franklin made a comment about Beyoncé referring to Tina Turner as the Queen at the 2008 Grammy Awards highlighted the cutthroat nature of the music industry, as well as Aretha's unwavering resolve to continue to hold the title of Queen of Soul. She stated that she was unsure of whose toes she might have walked on, but she rejected it as a cheap shot meant at controversy. She made it apparent that she did not appreciate the disrespect, and she stated that she was unhappy with it. Aretha's sister Irma, who passed away in 2002, summed up Aretha's sentiments on her female contemporaries by saying that Aretha always pictured a future in which all of the rivals would disappear, and she would stand alone as the solitary queen. Aretha's sister Irma was the one who passed away. Aretha had to contend with a number of personal and health issues, particularly in her final years, in addition to the competition she encountered in her professional life. Her struggles with her weight continued throughout her entire career. In 1974, she went on a diet that was extremely low in calories and lost 40 pounds. She managed to keep the weight off for the majority of the decade, although she did acquire some weight in the early 1990s. Aretha revealed that when she wasn't traveling, she would cook from the hundreds of recipes that she had gathered from magazines. This was a practice that brought about her weight fluctuations, and she confessed that it was a contributing factor. She had a history of smoking and drinking, which made her health problems even more difficult to manage. For many years, Aretha was a chain smoker, but in 1992, she decided to quit the habit after realizing that it was having an effect on her voice. On the other hand, she noticed that her weight grew after she stopped smoking, which presented additional issues for her overall health. Concerns regarding her health were raised when she underwent surgery in 2010 to remove an unidentified tumor through surgical removal. Her physician estimated that the operation could add 15 to 20 years to her life expectancy. The rumors that the surgery was related to pancreatic cancer were refuted by Aretha, who reassured her admirers that the issue had been rectified. She reported that she had shed 85 pounds after the surgery, but she denied having undergone any kind of weight loss surgery. Despite the difficulties she was experiencing with her health, Aretha remained resolute in her commitment to the stage. She triumphantly returned to the stage at the Chicago Theater in May of 2011, where she had previously performed. Over the course of the subsequent several years, she embarked on a lengthy tour, during which she captivated listeners with her extraordinary vocal abilities. This demonstrated that her renowned gift was not lessened by the challenges she encountered. During her later years, Aretha Franklin's health remained a major source of concern for her family and friends. During the year 2013, she was forced to cancel a number of concerts owing to medical procedures that were not disclosed. In spite of this, she maintained a positive outlook toward her recovery, even going so far as to say that she had even experienced a miraculous healing. On the other hand, she admitted that she needed to put her health first before she could return to the stage at her full ability. By February of 2017, Aretha had taken the painful choice to announce that 2017 would be her final year of touring. She had come to the realization that her health difficulties had begun to have an effect on her ability to perform. In the beginning, she had planned to perform at a few performances in 2018, but she ultimately decided to cancel them after consulting with her physician. According to rumors that surfaced in August of 2018, Aretha was receiving hospice care at her residence in Detroit, where she was surrounded by her family and friends. She was in a critical condition. During the latter days of her life, she was visited by a number of notable individuals, including Reverend Jesse Jackson and rapper Stevie Wonder. The passing of Aretha occurred on August 16, 2018, when she was 76 years old. A malignant pancreatic neuroendocrine tumor, which is an extremely uncommon form of pancreatic cancer, was found to be the cause of death during the investigation. The news of her passing sent shockwaves across the entertainment industry and beyond, as individuals from all walks of life, including politicians, celebrities, and fans, paid tribute to her. Former President Barack Obama, who had been profoundly impacted by Aretha's performance at his inauguration, referred to her as someone who contributed to the definition of the American experience. Al Sharpton, a civil rights activist, referred to her as a humanitarian and civil rights icon, with the intention of highlighting the significant influence that she had not only on the music industry, but also on society as a whole. Aretha's burial was held as per her request, and the Reverend Jasper Williams Jr., who was a member of Salem Baptist Church in Atlanta, delivered the eulogy following the service. The eulogy, on the other hand, caused a stir because of the political substance it included and the sentiments that were considered provocative. The nephew of Aretha, Vaughn, expressed his dissatisfaction with the fact that the eulogy did not place a greater emphasis on commemorating Aretha's life and legacy, as he considered it ought to have done. When Aretha was asked to reflect on her life, she once stated that the activities that she was most pleased with were being a mother and a grandmother. The genuine measure of her legacy is not just the legendary music she created and the public acclaim she received, but also the love she had for her family and the enormous pride she felt in her role as a mother and grandmother. In the end, this is the true measure of her achievement.